3 seconds. That is, that's exactly how long it takes.
Yeah. It is wild how fast it is.
Like you're just sitting there. Maybe you're looking at a totally blank document on your screen. Or, staring at an email you really need to send.
Or even just thinking about that one conversation you've been putting off for like weeks.
Right, exactly. And 3 seconds just tick by, and suddenly your brain just builds this massive invisible wall.
Completely out of nowhere.
And written right across that wall is just one absolute sentence, just, I can't do this.
And in that exact moment, it feels completely true, like indisputable.
It really does. You feel it in your chest. Before you even have the thought, your body is already reacting.
Oh, totally. It feels like a cold, hard fact.
But the thing I always wonder about, the thing that just fascinates me is that this I can't wall, it isn't actually real evidence. It's not some truth about what we can actually do.
No, not at all.
It's just a chemical event in the brain. And that is exactly what we're getting into today. Because understanding this mindset, it really changes everything.
It's so crucial. Because that I can't feeling, it really doesn't care who you are. It follows you everywhere.
Yeah.
It just kind of changes its outfit, depending on what stage of life you're in.
Oh, for sure. Like, if you are listening to this right now and you're in your 20s, that self-doubt usually looks like just constant, brutal comparison.
Oh, worst.
Right. You're just scrolling, watching everyone else seemingly figure their lives out, getting these perfect jobs, moving into great places.
And you just feel like you were totally guessing in the dark. Like everyone else got a manual that you somehow missed.
Exactly. And then you hit your 30s, and man, you get this massive squeeze of pressures.
Oh, the convergence.
Yeah. Your career demands go up. Maybe you're in a serious relationship. Financial burdens are spiking. And self-doubt just peaks right there.
Because your mind is dealing with this very real, very heavy load. And you usually don't have the mental tools to handle it yet.
You just assume you're broken.
Right, but you aren't broken. You're just under a ton of pressure.
And then, by the time you hit your late 30s or 40s, it feels like these defensive habits have just turned to stone.
They get calcified.
Yeah, the I can't voice stops feeling like a reaction. It starts feeling like, well, like it's just who you are.
A permanent personality trait.
Right. You might even wonder if it's just too late to change how your brain works. But the beautiful thing is, some of the biggest mindset shifts actually happen after 45.
Because that's when your clarity really sets in. Your why becomes clear.
Exactly. You finally have the context you lacked in your 20s. But feeling that shift is one thing. To actually tear down that wall, we really need to look at what's happening inside.
Right under the hood.
Yeah. If this wall isn't a truth, but just a chemical event, what is actually happening in our heads?
Well, the main issue is that we often mistake this biological alarm for being realistic.
Oh, totally. We think we're just being smart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We tell ourselves we're just being cautious. But it's not an intelligence thing. And it's definitely not a willpower thing. It's a wiring thing.
So let's trace that. How do we get from feeling that deep self-doubt to the actual biology causing it?
So it all starts with this tiny, ancient part of your brain. Think of it as your brain's primary alarm system.
Like a smoke detector.
Exactly. Its entire job, its only purpose, is to scan the world for threats and keep you alive. But here is the major catch with this hardware.
What's that?
It literally cannot tell the difference between a real physical threat, like a tiger suddenly walking into your room, and a modern social threat.
Like getting a weird email from your boss.
Exactly. To the alarm system, danger is danger. It doesn't know the difference between a tiger and a difficult conversation.
So it just pulls the exact same fire alarm either way.
Precisely. And when that alarm goes off, your brain does something super drastic. It takes all your mental energy and pulls it entirely away from your thinking brain.
The logic center.
Right. The part of your brain right behind your forehead, the part that handles logic, planning, and confident choices. It just gets unplugged.
Wait, really? So the exact moment I need my clear thinking.
Yeah.
The absolute, like when I'm facing a huge challenge, my brain just unplugs the machine that gives me clear thinking.
That is the tragic joke of human biology.
Oh, man.
Yeah, your brain pulls the power away because, from a survival standpoint, standing around analyzing a tiger is a huge waste of time. You don't need logic. You just need to run.
Wow. So that I can't feeling isn't a ruling on my actual skills.
Not at all. It's literally just your nervous system taking over. In a fraction of a second, it decides to prioritize your immediate safety over your personal growth.
Okay, but wait, I have to push back on this just a little bit.
Sure.
Because isn't that little voice sometimes just keeping me from making a total fool of myself?
How so?
Well, sometimes it feels like I'm just being really well prepared, like I'm thinking through all the ways a project could fail. It's like having a car alarm. Sure, it's loud, but it protects the car.
I get that. I like the car alarm idea, but let's make it a bit more accurate. It's like an overly sensitive car alarm that goes off when a single leaf touches the glass.
Oh.
Yeah. You think it's protecting you from a burglary, but you're actually just being kept up all night for no reason at all.
Okay, wow. That hits a little too close to home.
Right. We all do it. And this brings up a huge myth. The idea that overthinking is the same thing as being thorough.
It's not.
No, not at all. If you keep thinking and thinking beyond a certain point, you aren't getting better answers. You're actually making worse choices.
Because you're just sitting in the fear.
Exactly. You aren't gathering helpful facts. You're just marinating in the alarm system's panic. The longer you sit with the "I can't," the more creative your brain gets at justifying it.
That makes profound sense. It's an alarm that just doesn't know when to turn off. But that raises a really fascinating question. If we all have this same biological hardware, why do we process the alarm so differently? Like, why do some people just totally freeze when they make a mistake, while others just shrug, turn off the alarm, and keep going?
That is the real puzzle. And to understand it, we have to talk about our underlying mindset. And I don't mean mindset like some cheesy poster on a wall.
Right, no motivational guru stuff.
Exactly. We are talking about how the brain actually handles energy. People generally fall into one of two ways of seeing their own abilities.
The fixed versus growth mindset.
Yeah. If you have a fixed mindset, you secretly believe your skills and your smarts are totally set in stone. You either have it or you don't.
And a growth mindset.
In a growth mindset, you see your skills as fluid, like a muscle you can build with habit and discipline.
So how does this change the biology?
It completely changes where the blood flows in your head. When people with a fixed mindset make a mistake, their brain treats it like a physical attack.
Like actual pain.
Yeah, the energy rushes straight to the emotion and ego centers. Because their deep logic says, if my skills are fixed and I just failed, then I am a failure.
Oh, wow. So the mistake becomes a personal identity crisis.
Exactly. But for people with a growth mindset, the energy flows totally differently. The emotional defense alarms stay pretty quiet.
So where does the energy go?
It goes right to the attention and correction centers. To them, the mistake isn't an attack on their soul, it's just data.
Just information on what to fix next time.
Right. They recover so much faster because they aren't busy repairing their ego, they're just busy fixing the problem.
For a long time, we thought the adult brain was like concrete. Like once you grew up, it was fully dried.
Stuck in its ways.
Yeah, that any attempt to change your habits would just crack the concrete. But the beautiful thing is, our brains are more like clay. They keep rewiring well into old age. Those fixed reactions, they aren't permanent hardware. They're just old software.
And you can absolutely update the software. Though we do need to be gentle with ourselves about how that old software got installed in the first place.
Because of how we grew up.
Exactly. Our childhood plays a huge role. If you grew up where mistakes were punished harshly by parents or teachers, your alarm system got trained to be super sensitive.
They learned that making a mistake was actually dangerous.
Yeah. You aren't born with a broken mindset. You were just trained to spot threats really, really well.
That is so freeing to hear. But it also feels like a bit of a trap.
How do you mean?
Well, if the brain rewires through action, how do you actually take that action when the 3-second wall is completely paralyzing you? Because just sitting there telling yourself to have a growth mindset doesn't magically silence the car alarm.
No, it definitely doesn't. To change the wiring, we have to completely flip how we view confidence. Because almost everyone gets the order of confidence completely backward.
Waiting for the feeling before doing the thing.
Yes. People think confidence is a requirement for action. They say, once I feel confident, then I'll apply for that job. Or, once I feel ready, I'll launch the project.
But biologically, that's backwards.
Totally backward. Waiting to feel confident before you act is basically impossible. Confidence isn't the requirement. It is the byproduct of action.
So wait, waiting for confidence is literally like standing in front of a cold, empty fireplace and saying, okay, once you give me heat, then I'll put in the wood.
That is a brilliant way to put it, yes. Your brain updates its confidence levels based on your track record of surviving attempts. It builds confidence looking backward.
Let's ground this a bit. I know this story of a guy, let's call him Michael, and his situation shows this perfectly.
Oh, the logistics guy?
Yeah, he worked in operations at this mid-sized company, and for years he just avoided applying for a senior management job, a job he was totally objectively qualified for.
But the wall kept hitting him.
Exactly. Every time the role opened up, he'd hit that 3-second wall. He would just tell himself, I'm not the kind of person who gets picked for that.
Notice the phrasing there. Not the kind of person.
Fixed mindset.
Right, the fixed mindset is creeping in. He's making it a personal flaw instead of just a professional choice.
Yeah. If you are listening right now and you have like 3 half-finished online courses that you swear you need before you can start your business, you are doing what Michael did.
Using preparation to hide from action.
Exactly. He told himself he needed just 1 more year of experience. But then a coworker with way less experience just went ahead, applied, and got an interview.
Which is so deeply frustrating, watching someone less qualified pass you just because they took action.
But Michael used that frustration. He realized his gap wasn't his skills. His gap was just taking action. So he started this thing called an evidence log.
Such a great tool.
Every single day, he just opened a simple file and wrote down small tasks he successfully finished at work. Just basic stuff. He stopped relying on his feelings, because feelings fluctuate, and started relying on facts.
And then what happened?
3 months later, a role opened up, and he finally applied. But here is the most crucial part. He didn't feel confident when he clicked submit. The fear was still completely there.
And that totally shatters another massive myth we have, this idea that confident, successful people just don't feel self-doubt.
They feel it all the time.
Right. They feel doubt constantly. The difference isn't that they lack the feeling. The difference is what they do in the 10 seconds after the feeling hits. Michael didn't wait for the fear to go away. He just acted alongside it.
He had his evidence log to point to, which fed his brain positive data. Though I do want to pin something for later. There's actually a limit to only tracking your wins.
Oh, absolutely.
But for now, if an evidence log is one tool, what else can you actually do when that 3-second wall slams into you?
Well, understanding our habits gives us some incredibly simple tools. One is naming the feeling.
Oh, yeah. I was honestly super skeptical of this one when I first heard it. It sounded almost too simple.
Just labeling the emotion.
Yeah. The idea that when the self-doubt hits, you just silently name it. You say to yourself, my alarm system is going off. I am feeling fear right now. Did just giving it a clinical name actually do anything?
It demonstrably does. The moment you put a clear word to an emotion, the panic center in your brain measurably calms down.
Why does that work?
Because finding a specific word requires logic. You literally force your thinking brain to turn back on to search your vocabulary. You are pulling the energy away from the panic and back into reasoning.
Wow. You're just starving the panic of oxygen. You name it to tame it.
Exactly.
I also really love the second tool, the 20-second pause. When that urgent I can't hits you, your very first instinct is to run, to close the laptop, walk away, say no.
Just escape the discomfort.
Right. But this tool says you just wait 20 seconds. You don't try to pump yourself up. You just sit there and let the initial chemical spike pass. You give your logic center time to reboot.
Because brain chemistry is incredibly fast, but it also clears out quickly if you don't feed it with a secondary panic.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And beyond just pausing, there's a lot of power in precision language.
Yes. Swapping out a permanent word for a temporary one, instead of saying, I can't do this, which totally slams the door shut, you just say, I haven't figured this out yet.
The word yet is pure magic. It signals to your brain that the struggle is temporary.
It really is. But, just changing a single word doesn't always fix the deeper ways we sabotage ourselves, because sometimes that I can't voice doesn't sound like fear.
What does it sound like?
Sometimes it dresses up in a tuxedo and calls itself high standards.
Oh, man. That brings us perfectly to Jennifer's story. Because she wasn't hitting a fast 3-second wall. She was dealing with this slow, painful erosion.
The perfectionism trap.
Exactly. Jennifer was a teacher, and she desperately wanted to write a book. She would start a chapter, get maybe 30 pages in, and then the perfectionism would just hit her like a truck.
What would she do?
She'd look at her messy first draft and think, this isn't good enough, and honestly, neither am I. And she would just abandon the whole project over and over again.
That is the classic perfectionism loop. We wear perfectionism like a badge of honor, right? Like it proves we care about quality. But it's really just a brilliant, highly acceptable disguise for fear.
How does it protect us?
You set the bar so impossibly high that failing is basically guaranteed. By demanding a perfect first draft, you protect yourself from the scary vulnerability of trying your absolute best and still falling short.
Because if you never finish, you never really fail.
Right. And delaying it or abandoning it just proves the fixed mindset story in your head. You tell yourself, if it's not perfect right away, I just don't have the talent.
Listen, if you have a graveyard of half-finished hobbies, abandoned blogs, or projects you gave up on just because they got messy, You are stuck in the perfectionism loop.
It's so common.
But Jennifer figured a way out. She read this essay by one of her students. The student wrote about failing a math test multiple times, but realized that failing at one specific thing doesn't make you a total failure at life.
That's incredible insight from a student.
Right. So Jennifer applied that to her book. She started treating her messy, abandoned chapters as just failed attempts, not as proof that she was worthless.
Yeah.
She completely detached her identity from the outcome.
Which is huge.
She made a hard rule for herself. She said, I will finish the entire draft before I'm allowed to judge a single sentence.
That is a masterclass in building a growth mindset. She took the personal ego out of the messy draft. She just treated the words as data to be fixed later. It kept her thinking brain engaged without triggering the panic alarm.
It took her 8 months, but she actually finished the draft. And yeah, it needed massive rewrites, but she finally had a physical thing to revise instead of just a blank page and feeling inadequate.
And that's all it takes, just getting it out there.
But we do have to acknowledge something here. We don't live in a vacuum. Our daily habits or physical state, they deeply impact this whole biological machine.
Oh, absolutely. You cannot separate your mindset from your physical biology. They are completely linked.
Like, think about sleep.
Exactly. Chronic self-doubt causes racing thoughts at night, which keeps you awake. And when you don't sleep, your logic center is functionally impaired the next day.
So you wake up, and the one part of your brain you desperately need to fight off the I can't voice is already running on a low battery.
Precisely. And then add in huge caffeine spikes or eating lots of sugar, which puts your body into a physical state of anxiety. An anxious baseline makes your alarm system incredibly jumpy.
It's just primed to see threats everywhere.
Yes.
And we really have to talk about our phones, specifically comparison scrolling. I realized recently that this is probably the biggest mindset sabotage we do to ourselves.
Without a doubt. Think about it. If you are about to start a difficult task, like writing a report or trying something creative, and you spend 10 minutes scrolling through highlight reels of other people's massive successes,
You are directly priming your brain for a fixed mindset because you're totally skewing your brain's baseline for what normal looks like. You look at these polished, perfect products online, and it makes your own average, messy first attempt feel like a catastrophic failure.
which just immediately triggers the alarm system.
Yeah. So how do we use our environment and our daily habits to actually help us?
Yeah.
There's this great story about a guy named David who used tiny habits to rewire his panic.
What did he do?
He was terrified of public speaking, just absolute sweating, debilitating dread at work meetings. But he didn't try to suddenly become this perfect, charismatic speaker overnight.
Right.
He used a trick called the smallest next action.
I love that concept.
Right, he didn't try to cure the fear. He just scaled way, way down. He made a rule that in every single meeting, he just had to speak for 60 seconds.
Just 1 minute.
Just 1 minute. It didn't matter if his voice shook. It didn't matter if he stumbled over his words. Just 60 seconds of deliberate exposure.
David was basically giving himself exposure therapy. By surviving those 60 seconds over and over again, his brain started getting new data.
The evidence log again.
Exactly. His alarm system literally stopped seeing the meeting room as a physical threat. The anxiety just plummeted because his brain updated its prediction based on the new, safe data he kept providing.
That is so empowering.
Yeah.
Because it's so small, anyone can do 60 seconds. But it also brings up a really critical question for anyone listening right now.
What's that?
Is every single I can't feeling just an irrational fear? Like, how do I know the difference between my brain panicking over nothing and a genuine, logical realization that a certain project or job genuinely just isn't a good fit for me?
That is such a vital distinction, and it really comes down to speed and physical sensation.
Leave it.
Yeah. The alarm system's I can't is incredibly fast. It happens in those first 3 seconds. It feels super urgent, and it's almost always tied to physical tension.
Like your chest getting tight.
Right. A spike in your heart rate or that drop in your stomach.
It's the sudden car alarm going off.
Exactly. Loud and sudden. But a genuine logical assessment that a task isn't right for you, that arrives much more slowly.
It doesn't feel like an emergency.
Right. It feels calmer. And most importantly, you can usually explain it with specific, clear reasoning, not just a vague, overwhelming sense of dread. Learning to take that 20-second pause and figure out which voice is speaking is a huge skill.
It just takes practice. So what does this all mean for you tomorrow morning? When you wake up and face that blank page or that scary email or that difficult conversation?
The goal isn't to magically eliminate the fear.
No, not at all. The goal is just to recognize it. to see it for exactly what it is. A very fast, overly cautious prediction by an ancient piece of hardware that is just trying to keep you safe from a tiger that doesn't even exist.
And knowing that mechanism changes everything, because once you understand the machinery, you can start to tinker with it.
Which actually brings us right back to Michael and his evidence log. And a thought we want to leave you with today.
Yes, the provocation.
We talked about how Michael logged his successes to build a track record of confidence. But if confidence truly comes from action, and our brains update based on surviving our attempts, there's a limit to only logging your wins.
Right, because if you only write down your wins, you're still subtly telling your brain that failing is totally unacceptable.
Exactly. So what if you took the evidence log just one step further? What if you intentionally created a failure resume?
A failure resume.
Yeah. What if, instead of hiding your mistakes or feeling deep shame about the projects you had to abandon, you actively collected your rejections?
Oh, I love that.
What if you viewed them not as proof of your limits, but as a mental workout? You literally treat each failure like a rep in the gym. You are deliberately proving to your brain that a mistake will not kill you, and you are actively strengthening your logic center's ability to override the panic.
You're seeking out the failures to prove you can survive them. It flips the entire dynamic of self-doubt upside down.
It really does. So the next time that car alarm goes off in your head, maybe instead of running away, you can just smile, recognize the noise for what it is, and step right into the discomfort. Take that thought with you into your next big challenge.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Geeks Mindset has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same thoughtful way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life, and it helps Geeks Mindset reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the join button right next to the Geeks Mindset logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Mindset Support Circle. Your support helps honest mindset awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Geeks Mindset moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.